What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gamonal Tutors. I'm Mickey Gamonal, and here confidence breeds competence. So today we're going over my favorite proof, the Pythagorean Theorem. And you can tell it's my favorite proof because of my Pythagorean Theorem tattoo. So you know it's legit. This is my favorite thing to teach. I think it uses a lot of really cool math concepts, and I think if you really think about the idea behind the Pythagorean Theorem, you'll realize that it applies to so much of life. So anyway, enough about that. So the idea of the Pythagorean Theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Alright? And what we use in a proof, we use a geometric picture. We use this picture to use the math to prove that this is true. Okay? So, in order to prove that this is true, what we do is we call this c squared. But instead of calling it c squared, a squared, and b squared, I'm going to use my hand. Alright? So what we're going to do is we're going to call this length of the triangle, the short length, we're going to call that thumb. So that's going to be little t squared. And then the long length of the triangle, we're going to call that finger. That's this guy right here. So, finger, right? So that's going to be finger squared, f squared. And then this big portion on the outside, we're going to call that hand, right? Hand is going to be the largest part. So my hand all the way across, it's going to be equal to h squared. Alright? So t squared, f squared equals h squared. And I'll just write it up here so that we remember. T is equal to a, f is equal to b, h is equal to c. Cool? So that way we know when we come back and we get t squared plus f squared equals h squared that we've actually solved the Pythagorean theorem. Alright, now that we got the variables out of the way, what we want to do is we want to find the area of big square. So the area of big square is going to be my hand squared, right? It's this length times this length. So it's going to be h squared. Alright? Now, the area of the big square is equal to the area of these four triangles plus the area of the little square, right? This little square plus these four triangles equals the area of the big square. You can see it right here, right? The big square is composed of these shapes inside. So I know if I add up the areas of all of these little shapes, it's going to equal the area of the big shape. Alright? So we're going to say little square plus four triangles is equal to the area of the big square. Alright? Now, all four triangles are the same. Right? All of these long lengths are going to be my finger length, and all of the short lengths of the triangle are going to be my thumb. Alright? Good? So it's kind of like that, right? Alright, so how do you take the area of a triangle? Now, area of a triangle is equal to, we know the square is equal to the hand times the hand. The triangle is going to be equal to 1/2 base times height. Alright? And the reason for that is if you take a rectangle, you can actually draw a triangle in it, and you'll see that the triangle takes up exactly half of that square. So if I were to draw, say, a triangle in here, it would take up half of the square. Alright? So that's why it's 1/2 of the base times the height of the triangle. That's where that formula comes from. So anyway, the base is going to be, we'll call it thumb length, right? The thumb length is going to be the length of the base. So this thumb, length of the base. Because if I were to draw this into a rectangle, you'll see that this triangle takes up half the amount of space of the rectangle. Cool? So base is thumb times finger, and half of that is going to be equal to the triangle, right? So one triangle is 1/2 times the base, which is thumb, times finger, which is height. All right? And remember, we have 4 of these guys, so we're going to times it by 4. So we're going to times it by 4. All right. So 4, 1/2 thumb times finger. So that's going to be the triangle portion. Now what we need to do is we need to solve for the little square portion. All right? Now the little square portion is a little tricky, so stay with me. All right? This is a triangle that is thumb finger, and this is a triangle that is thumb finger. This length here is going to be finger length, take away the thumb length, and now I know how far that side is. So finger minus thumb is one side of this square, which means the other side is going to be the same. And I can show this to you by looking at, this is my thumb, this is my finger. If I take away the thumb length from the finger length, what's left is going to be this portion, which is that side of that square. So it's going to be that squared. So finger times thumb, and I'll use blue to show you this length. This is equal to F minus T, and this one is equal to T, this length here, and this length here is equal to F. Alright? Hopefully you're following. So this is finger minus thumb, this is finger minus thumb, this is the thumb length, this is the finger length. So finger minus thumb is equal to little square. And then my 4 triangles, let's do this. 4 triangles is equal to, and the 4 triangles is going to be equal to 4 times 1/2 thumb times finger, which is the same as base times height, because that's the base, that's the height. So 4 halves of these rectangles is going to give me all my triangle values, and this is going to give me my square value. Alright, so that's all the values that are inside of hand squared. So what we got to do is we got to add them together. You get F minus T squared is plus 4 triangles, which is 4 times 1/2 TF equals hand squared. Remember, that was the long length, it's going to be hand. So let me write that off to the side too. This long length is H. Alright? Long length is H squared. Cool. So now what you got to do is you got to use some math properties that we haven't covered yet, but if you know from your previous math teachers, you'll be able to understand the algebra here. So, what's 4 times 1/2? Well, half of 4 is 2. So, 2TF. Now we're going to use squares. So we have, like I said, we haven't gone over exponents, but all an exponent is the powers, which is the number times itself. So in this case we have F minus T, we're going to times that by itself. So we get F minus T times F minus T plus 2TF equals H squared. Everybody see where these are coming from? The 2TF came from the triangles, the F minus T squared came from our little square, and the H squared is our big shape. Alright? Now we go through and do the algebra. What you're going to use here is you're going to use what's called FOIL, which is kind of like a part of the distributive property. You're basically going out and saying F times F, F times T, negative T times F, negative T times negative T, and what you get is F times F is F squared, T times F is negative TF, negative T times F is negative TF, and then negative T times negative T is actually positive T squared. And we should know that because we went over integers, a negative times a negative gives you a positive. So positive t squared. Now we can add our triangles again, plus 2tf equals h squared. Alright? Now, if you've written all this down, or if you understand all this, I'm going to go ahead and erase it, and we're going to bring this guy back up to the top. And then we can go through and solve. Alright, so to go through and solve this, what we have is I'll rewrite it, f squared, finger length squared, minus tf plus t squared plus 2tf equals h squared. Sweet, so this was our triangles plus our little square is equal to the area of the big square. Now, we'll go through and what we do first is we combine like terms. So, combining like terms, we look for terms that are the exact same. Now, in this case, we have TFs that are the same. So, we have negative TF, negative TF. So, that makes 2 negative TFs. So, negative 2TF. Alright, F squared, I don't have anybody for him. There's nobody that he matches with. And then t squared, I don't have anybody for him that he matches with. But I do have plus 2tf, and that's from our triangles, equals h squared. Now, you can combine like terms again. You'll see negative 2tf and positive 2tf. Those guys are actually going to cancel. So I'll use red because we're canceling them out. Boom. Negative 2tf, positive 2tf, those guys meet. It's like negative 2 apples, positive 2 apples, if they meet, you don't have any apples, right? So negative 2tf, positive 2tf cancels out to 0. And what we're left with is f squared plus t squared equals h squared. And we'll look back and we'll see that we said t, thumb, is going to be equal to a. So a squared plus f, which is finger, is equal to b, plus b squared is equal to h squared. So hand. Big shape, h squared. Cool? Hopefully that made sense. I know that was really, really fast. And usually if I'm going through tutoring it, I'm going to check back with you each step to make sure that you're following and keeping up with me. But this proves that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So you'll see right angles all throughout life, right? Like this is a right angle. This washing machine is a right angle. Everywhere. Just go ahead and look around your room right now. Look at, maybe the TV. The cell phone is made of right angles. So you could actually draw right triangles on there, and you could find the area of it because it's comprised of all of those little things. All right? And so start thinking about that. Start thinking about how much space things in your life are taking up. And that's really all that life is what it's composed of. And that's something to kind of take with you everywhere you go. All right, I hope everybody has a great weekend. This has been Gamonal Tutors, where confidence breeds competence.